Alright, so I want to do a video on my 520 MXC. It's a 2002. I've done a lot of upgrades to this thing. When I first bought it, was a frame and an engine from a gentleman in the Bay Area. He had done a new piston, new valves, recut the valves, new bottom end, basically rebuilt the entire engine. The reason for selling it was leaking coolant from the jug and he couldn't get it to stop. So when I showed up, I took a look at it, and I didn't mention this to him at the time, but he didn't use gaskets at all. He used RTV for every sealant, even the head gasket, so I dead giveaway that was why. So that also led me to believe he didn't know what he was doing, so I kind of went through the entire engine, put new gaskets in, stopped leaking. Once I got the engine running, I started to put money into it, started to build it up to what it is right now. So a couple of things that I've done to the engine was the valves are now a stainless steel valve. So they're a little bit stronger, they'll last a little bit longer. I did also put a JD jetting kit in here. It runs amazing. I'm getting 50 miles a gallon, pretty standard. I do ride it on the road most of the time. It's like a road bike, and then I trail ride it. I don't do any motocross. The suspension when I picked it up was Race Tech suspension. So that's already for my weight and height and everything, so that was amazing. I kind of lucked out on that. I'm running Supermoto fender because when you're riding on the road, it's nice to have a shorter one that doesn't blow in the wind everywhere. I put blinkers in. They're just mounted directly into the headlight. Speaking of the headlight, new headlight shroud, got a LED put in there. Do have mirrors. I'm getting some Supermoto mirrors soon, just so they're not so tall. One thing about this bike is that it has a Kickstarter, which is super nice, as well as electric start. I do also have a Trailtech Vapor on there. And currently I have 843 miles. Top speed of this bike is 95, so I've almost taken it top speed during this run. We do have a horn on there as well to make it street legal. I got the 6.5 gallon tank, so for 50 miles a gallon, 6.5 gallons, you can do the math, but 300 miles. Quite a bit of range on it. I do have the Shinko 700 tires. They have almost no tread left. I do have a new one right there. I got about 3,000 to 4,000 miles out of these tires. They've been amazing. On the twisties, they literally feel like a sport bike tire, and off-road, they are not that great, other than like hard pack, dry stuff. Anything wet, you're pretty much screwed unless it's rain on pavement. That's fine. I've ridden this thing in the rain, no problem. Won't show you my license plate number, but I do have license plate kit. I have a bag on the tail, which has been super nice for carrying tools. Stock exhaust. It looked like when the gentleman gave it to me, he had taken out the baffle, so it's pretty loud just for the stock exhaust. Some of the things people wonder about these bikes is kind of horsepower, top speed, stuff like that. So this bike's top speed is 95 with the current gearing. My current gearing is 14 front, 44 rear, and it is I could gear it taller if I wanted to and get up to 100, but first gear is pretty much useless at that point. I did add a bash guard or a skid plate from DeVol skid plates. This product is amazing. It's an aluminum skid plate. A lot of guys have problems with noise, so what I did is I put sound deadening on the inside and just didn't cover the slots so that it still gets airflow. It does have a hydraulic clutch, which has been super nice, especially in traffic. It's just really easy pull. Like basically I can do it one finger, no problem. Yeah, this thing will power wheelie in third. I can clutch up to about 50 miles an hour. Say like fourth gear is like the last gear you can really clutch up, unless you're really good at them, which I'm not. I'm pretty much average, so You know, take that for what you will, I guess. I did add some spoke covers because one, the look looks nice to me, and two, the front ones are a little rusty, so I just decided to kind of cover them up from further rust. I did obviously basic stuff, grips, levers, stuff like that. I did do the seat cover myself. I used a staple gun pneumatic air. If you don't use an air one, you pretty much can't do them. These ones are very tight fit, and KTM seat bottoms are super stiff. So getting them to fit is like really tough, especially if you have a hand stapler. One thing with these bikes is that it has a 6-speed transmission. So that means that you can, when you're doing about, I don't know, around 70, 65, 70, you can shift up into 6th, and you have that overdrive gear for the freeway. This thing does not like to sit at 75 or 80 for long periods of time. I pretty much do 65 exclusively when I'm on the freeway, and that's for maybe 2 or 3 exits. I would not take this thing like hundreds of miles on the freeway. One thing that a lot of people don't like about the KTMs is they think that the oil services and piston and valves and rings and all that stuff is too much work. If you know what you're doing, it's really not. I mean, you do it more often, but once you get it down, I'd say you're like better off than some of the guys that haven't done theirs in a year, 2 years, 3 years with thousands of miles on their bike, and then they go to do it and they haven't done it before, and it takes longer than me when I'm doing it every single 2 or 3 months, you know. Oil does add up. It's like $60 for 4 liters. I run 10W60 Motor X in mine. And that's really just because I'm in California, so it's really hot. I like it a little bit thicker so that when I'm riding higher speeds, it's not as thin. I can do about 4 oil changes with one 4-liter jug. So you're talking like 1.2 liters of oil per oil change, including filters. So for $60, I mean, divide that by 4, and it's really not that much for oil changes. I did put some stainless steel oil filters in. I've heard mixed things about them. I've been testing them out for about 4 oil changes, and I've had no problems. They're super easy to clean. You just use an air compressor, and you clean all the gunk out. Make sure there's no metal, obviously, anything like that. Double check it. But yeah, those save you like $15 per oil change because you're not replacing the paper filters in there every single time. So over time, it really adds up. Valve checks on this thing, you basically just take the tank off and you can do it. There's there's nothing in the way at all. It's super easy. Yeah, but pretty much that's it about my bike. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Pretty much like I was saying, there's no information on this bike on YouTube that I could easily access, which made it difficult for me to build this thing and figure out if it's what I really wanted and all that good stuff. A lot of the parts I put on here are just from eBay, like the stuff that doesn't really matter, like the pegs and the axle blocks and like little things here and there that are needed to be replaced anyway. Just got them anodized. The seat cover, like stuff like that. It's like headlight, not the important, you know, engine internals and suspension and brakes and stuff like that. I just got the bling. This thing does have disc front and rear, which is super nice. Just keeps the stopping power up when you're up at those high speeds. Like I said, it's got a JD jetting kit, and it's got the FCR carb, the 39mm with the pumper accelerator pump. It is nice. This thing will do 0 to 60 in just under 5 seconds, if not right at 5 seconds. But yeah, it's quick. I'm sure if I geared it lower, I mean, if I made the top speed 60 with the gearing, this thing could get there super quick. With 1444 gearing in first gear, I can pull the wheel off the ground if you launch too hard. Like, it's got plenty of torque. Yeah, but just want to give you an overview of my bike, kind of let you know what the 520 MXC is all about. This pretty much is the same bike as the EXC. The only difference is that the EXC came stock with all the lighting, and this bike did not. You had to pretty much put it all on. The stator, I didn't upgrade. I left it the stock EXC stator, but what I did was I ran all LEDs, so the wattage coming from the LEDs is like max like 15 or 20 watts at a time, and this thing pumps out 30 watts, so it's more than enough to charge the battery and keep it running and keep the lights bright and all that good stuff. You just got to make sure they're all LEDs, and so you're not pulling like a 30-watt halogen. Yeah, but any questions, just let me know. I'd really like to hear from other people that have this bike, or anyone that has any common issues, stuff like that, longevity. But yeah, so far this bike has been amazing. My local KTM dealer has been super good about getting correct parts for me, so that hasn't been a problem at all, and surprisingly they weren't that expensive. Yeah, but if you have any questions, leave them below. Thanks.